Please join with me as we welcome to the lectern Mr. Workcamp, Jimmy Evanson.
I don't know how I got that nickname, but I guess it sticks. If you look like it, I guess it resembles you. So I can't wear shorts in downtown now when somebody think I'm going to a work camp. I'm just going to, just a little intro. You're going to hear some, I'm sure, outstanding testimonials this morning. Just to let you know, we went to two this year, the 35th one and the 34th one. So the 34th one was our leader was Rebecca Bliss, and we took about 20 people there and joined up with 384 more while we were there. And we worked on 56 homes, and what we did is we renovated that many. And I'm sure you'll hear some words from our speakers this morning about that. Second work camp was to Rushville. Let me tell you about the first one, though. Chillicothe, Ohio. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. It was our state's first capital, and it was an interim, and it became the second capital there one time. So very depressed, but a very historic area. It's a wonderful camp. It was formed from a effort of a local church, a community church that was created less than 5 years ago. They decided this was a mission they wanted to do. They went to three other work camps and got ideas on the best and the worst things that they did at those, and they created a phenomenal work camp with the whole community involved, including several other churches. So their church is only about 150 strong, but they put on one fantastic work camp, and that's our 34th. Our second work camp, we went to Rushville, Indiana. Again, pretty depressed area of the country. They have had 4 work camps total. This was their fourth. They put their first one together in 2010. And if you need more details on that, I think Brad can tell you. He's been to all 4 of them now. We were 44 strong going to that one, and we were joined by another 320 to create 364. Worked on only 54, not 56 homes there, but it was, again, a blessing to those people living there. And by renovating the homes, we don't displace the resident. The resident stays there, and you'll hear some stories, I'm sure, about how the resident joins it in. Because part of the reason for us going is the devotions. And we have a program in the morning that kind of sets the stage for what they do. Then they work, and then sometime during the day, usually around the meal, we break for devotions, and usually the resident will join in. And it's a godsend to hear their stories. I don't have time to give you half of them, the ones I heard, but I'm sure you'll hear some more today. We did get a celebrity in the bunch. Kyle Williams, one of our youth here, made the front page of the Rushville Sentinel, I think it's called, and we're proud of that. I've said this once, and I've said it again. I'll say it one more time. Work camp is a unique experience. It's something you all should try to experience. You only need to be 12 years old or finish the 6th grade. And you're never too old, because we know Arnie and Wanda Coliron went, and I think they were about 85 when they went. So don't think you're too old or too young to go. It's a wonderful experience. It's like going to the Grand Canyon. You can hear people talk about it. You can look at photos, watch videos. It doesn't really get across. You have to see it with your own eyes and experience it with your own body. It's just unique. We have a lot of people that went in prior years. They know what I'm talking about. So I'll introduce the first person. It's going to be one of our up-and-coming seniors at Aurora High School, Nick Belowski.
Reverend Snell, Miss Mayor, fellow campers, sorry, I'm a bit taller than Jimmy, friends and family, thank you so much for letting me come and speak to you all this morning. As you said, I'm Nick Belowski. I'm 17, and I'm going to be a senior at Aurora High School this year. And this past week in Rushville was my 6th work camp with the crew of my friends and family up there. Before I get started, I just want to say how beautiful of a day it is out here that was given to us by the Lord. I could talk forever about how great work camp was, but I guess I'm only supposed to talk for a short amount of time. I've made so many memories, so many great friendships, been on so many great adventures, and learned many valuable lessons through work camp, much more than many other people around my age. The 2 lessons I've learned that I'd like to cover are Christ-like servanthood and love. First off, our president, John F. Kennedy, once said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." And before my first work camp, I kind of had the mindset of what God could do for me and what people could do for me. But going and being in such a humbling experience for a week with people that don't really have it as great as us I can't even tell you how much that has stuck with me and how much it means to me. And it was so humbling for me to go and help these people because they're so appreciative when they might not have as much as we do. But to see the joy that we bring them through God really meant the world to me. Next, I'd like to talk about love, which I felt was really the main message through the programs and the work camp this year. Brad, who was the MC at our camp, we were really lucky to have him. He's such a great speaker, a great orator, and he really conveys the message well. And he really talked about showing love for everyone, even though you may not agree with them, you may not like them, but Jesus is in every person in this room and everyone in the world, and you owe them some bit of love and compassion just based on those standards alone. And on Thursday night of the week, it's always called Cry Night because in years past, it's really like an emotional program because the week's wrapping up and it's finally hitting that you may never see any of the people in your crew again, and you kind of get emotional. But however, on this Cry Night, I was filled with so much love, and so it was such a great time because I got to bond with every single one here, and we just had such great conversations. It was amazing. And to wrap it up, I'd like to thank everyone in this room who made the trip possible for us all. We really appreciate it more than you could ever imagine, and the effects it has on all of us are really quite unfathomable. Thank you.
Next up is Ed Kubek, who's also one of our kind of a co-joined sponsors here with Our Lady. We also have some people coming from Holy Angels and some other churches throughout the year. So,
Thanks, Jim. That's very hard to follow. Wow. The theme is On the Road to Emmaus, right? It's a journey. It's an awesome theme about the journey to find Jesus Christ. A pilot friend of mine, Mike Bowen, said, Rushville, Indiana is just on a layover. Why? Because we're going to meet Jesus Christ in the end, right? That's our journey. So this mission trip was really to recharge batteries and recalibrate compasses in all of our hearts. You see these young men and women, they are truly amazing, truly amazing. These are our future. This is the future of Aurora, Ohio, the United States, and the world. And it's amazing to have this type of trip. The congregation, I want to thank you because you're making this possible. You, in your way, as we talked about Liz and the farming, are planting the seeds for the future. And now we are cultivating it with this trip. It truly is an amazing experience that these young men and women are going to go out to the world and make a difference. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. As Jimmy has said, my family and I are from the church down the street, Our Lady. And we are on the same journey to find Jesus Christ. And it's amazing how all these denominations and future leaders of the world can get together and again make the difference in the world in our very small piece. I want to thank Pastor Schnell. I also want to thank two wonderful people who I've gotten to know over the last 20 years, Jimmy and Flip. They helped plant the seed in me and pass this on. So if you look at this, everyone here has helped recalibrate our compasses and recharge our batteries. And as you look there, that's a lot of energy to take on the world. Thank you.
Next up is John Hanna, just graduated from Aurora High School. While he's coming down, you may see some yawning faces, as it's been suggested. There's some sleep-deprived folks here, so you might see a yawn or two before it's over.
I think sleep-deprived is a pretty accurate statement to say there, Jimmy. Anyway, my name is John Hanna. As he said, I just graduated from Aurora High School. This was my 4th mission trip. I went to Rushville, Indiana, alongside each and every one of these wonderful people back here. Workcamp is truly a unique experience in the sense that if you look at the outline of what it is, it doesn't look that glamorous. You know, we start fundraising in like October, I believe it is, 8 months. We have the Super Bowl sub sale, the holiday suites, the spaghetti dinner. And not only us, but all you guys invest your time and your money just to send us to go work on people's houses, which sounds crazy. But as many of them have already said, once you get to Workcamp and see what it's all about, you start to understand. I remember my first one back in 2014. I was kind of like, we'll see how it goes, because I wasn't really like connected with the church as much as I would have liked to have been. But you get there, you know, you're sleeping on an air mattress on a school floor. The food is questionable at best. But just to see, 300, 400 Christian people come together to create something that's bigger than any individual could ever create. Because the towns we're going to they're not privileged, they're not thriving by any means, unlike our town of Aurora, which I would say is a pretty great community to live in. But when we all come together at Workcamp and just help these towns in need and create something bigger than ourselves, there's no greater message. That's what Jesus is all about. He died for us. He sacrificed himself so that we may thrive and live. So I think it is a testament what we're doing through Workcamp, just working together, creating something bigger than us. That's what Jesus did for us. So if you haven't been to Workcamp, I highly encourage you to go. And again, just thank you. Thank you, everybody, for sending us to Workcamp. It is truly a great experience. Thank you.
I think Michael's coming up next. Suzinta? Right? Yeah. You're up.
Morning. Okay, I'll try to be as fast as I can, but I really want to encourage everybody here to not just hear our stories, but to learn from our stories. So to listen to all of our testimonies, because there is no sermon, there's no message today. So that means what we're going to say is our message to you guys. First of all, I just want to say, which is what everybody is going to say and has said, thank you. That you have been a tremendous blessing to all of us, because Workcamp every single year is amazing. And God taught me an important lesson, all throughout the week, but specifically on the last day. So everybody's heard of feeding the 5,000 from the Bible. So the last day, where I'm at my site, and there's about 600. We have to paint and kind of repair a 600-foot fence in the backyard, and if we're painting and priming it, that means 1,200 feet, of painting and priming. And all throughout the week, my adult leader was saying, we don't have enough paint and primer. We need more. We never got more. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is kind of hard for me to admit, because I'm always the one to tell, people that, like, oh, God loves impossible situations, God loves impossible. He will pull through, but I doubted God of getting our site done. And that Friday, I saw 4 other crews come and help us out, and paint and primer was just coming out of nowhere. I mean, you talk about doing your best. Jesus multiplied the fish, and he multiplied the bread. And that's exactly what happened on Friday. He taught me a lesson. He showed me up. Just when I thought that it's literally impossible, I don't understand. We don't have enough paint and primer. God still provided, and we got that fence painted, and we got our work site done. So what I'm trying to tell all you guys is, because of your contributions and your service to this church and to us, you guys helped God teach me that nothing is impossible with God, ever. No matter what point no matter what stage you are in your life, God will pull through for you. All you got to do is trust Him. So thank you again. It means the world to me that we have a church that'll do all these things to send a whole bunch of young people to work camp. So we love you, and we thank you so much, and we love God, and we all just really appreciate what He has done through you, through work camp, through others. Thank you.
Next up is Chad Calder. He was our group leader down at Rushville. And just to give you a little background, the whole Calder family has been going to work camp. All 2 daughters, the wife, and so it's going to be interesting to see what Mr. Calder comes up with this time. He's got a little guy that looks just like him. I think it's a clone.
Mini-me.
And I'll shut up now.
Thanks, Jimmy. It felt very good to sleep on my own bed last night. Yes. It was just an honor to be a part of this group this last week. Getting to know these young adults more. I mean, I'm extending my family. My wife and I now have about 46 children, I think. These characters back here, and I just spent a week with 5 amazing young adults that could fit in right here. A young lady and a young man from the Chicagoland area, a young lady from St. Louis, a young man from corn country out in Nebraska. And I learned about a little town real close to the Ohio-Western Pennsylvania border called Mecca, which I guess is a little north of Cortland. And I had a young lady there who was my God sighting. Her dad built houses for a living, so it was like I had a junior house builder there with me. So just an amazing crew, and along with that, just an amazing resident, a 65-year-old man. Didn't really talk much about his wife, but he had 3 children. About 18 months ago, he was diagnosed with cancer, lung and liver cancer. So that was 18 months ago that he was told he was only going to have 6 to 12 months to live. But he's a believer, has been a preacher at 3 different churches, and was just, I mean, if you want to talk about seeing Jesus every day and showing something to these kids, he was that. He was a light to us and a light to our group. So, I mean, as an adult leader, this week just brings me so much joy. I'm not sure how it happens. This is my 4th camp, and it just seems like every camp is better than the one before. You know, life gets in the way, and you're just running around in the rat race, and this week really, I find patience. Patience I wish I had the rest of the year, that I try to carry back with me and be a little bit more patient with my children. I talk to these kids, and I tell them I'm not a very patient person, and I'm Chad the dad, by the way. Every work camp, I'm Chad the dad. So it's like, you have a patience problem. I do. And I mean, Luke and Olivia and Deanna will tell you that I have a problem with patience, but something about this week just slows me down. And it slows me down to try to find what's out there and what I should be looking for and spending more time with Jesus and praying. And it's just a valuable week that I try to carry on as far as I can after that week is over. But with all the spiritual stuff, we had such a good time. We had so much fun. So Jimmy said 364 campers. We have these events at night to kind of culminate the day together, bring the theme together, the road. We had all 364 campers participate in Simon Says, and I'd like to announce that Lydia Holman is the grand champion of Simon Says. Every night we would get together and we'd have devotions, music, and I tell you, Johnny Kubek playing his guitar in the music group was I just couldn't stop smiling. I could not stop smiling watching that kid. And he's just a blessing to us all. I see Jesus in that boy all day long. And it was just so much fun. Kyle Williams did an impersonation of Steve Perry one night. He sang and danced to Don't Stop Believin', drove the crowd wild. It was a lot of fun to see. Seeing my daughter Olivia in her joyful little skip when she's happy, coming towards me and saying, "Dad, you'd have been so proud of me." She had a couple of crosses to bear earlier in the week with her group, and she's like, "Dad, I just stepped in and did it, and you'd be so proud of me." And that just melts your heart as a parent. Seeing the kids gravitate to Michael, I mean, this kid is something else. Energy and personality and love of the Lord, and it was just so good to see. And then, this is one of the highlights, listening to Connor Bowen, Paul Esposito, and crew debating, is a hot dog a sandwich? Way too much thought was put into this. Days of thought. Final verdict? No, a hot dog is not a sandwich. So Ed alluded to this a little bit. Every work camp has a theme, and this year's theme was the road. The theme centered around Luke 24, the resurrection, and the walk to Emmaus. Sometimes the unexpected events along the road create disappointment. Our disappointment can lead to doubt, especially when Jesus doesn't seem to be doing what we expect him to do. Like I said, I went to my first work camp in 2011. I've been active in Aurora and Aurora sports for a lot longer than that. I've watched these kids grow, I've watched them mature, and I've watched them grow in their faith. During our week at work camp, we do what's called care cards, and it's an opportunity to write just encouraging little notes to your fellow campers, so everybody in the church, and then your camp, and then people that you interact with. And during the ride home yesterday, Josh Bliss said, "I wish I could look at my cards from my first camp and just see what I wrote." And I can imagine, Josh, how old were you? 13 probably? 12. It was probably one sentence, right? "I had fun with you at work camp." And I can imagine 19-year-old Josh, 18, 19? 19-year-old Josh, what his cards might say today. I can just see the thoughtfulness that might go into that, right? in a positive way. This is positive. There's probably a lot more thought that's gone into it, a lot more meaning. And I think that's what this whole thing is about, the process of watching these kids mature and grow in their relationship with Jesus. So, and I understand some of these young adults, they're bought in 100%. They are on board with Jesus. And there's others that are trying to work it out, trying to figure it out. Their road trip with Jesus is going to have its ups and downs. And when those down times come, they can look back at their time in Rushville, Indiana, or Chillicothe, and remember that great work that they saw in Jesus every day. I don't think we can thank Flip and Jimmy enough. I mean, they have no reason to be doing this. Their kids are long gone, but they love it, right? They're out there working their butts off. I was giving Flip a hug every afternoon after the day was over to make sure she was okay, giving her encouragement. And they are just a blessing to us, and we really thank them. So me and my crew, we put skirting on a mobile home. I had never done this before. And it was a great opportunity to learn something new and figure out something through Jesus' help. And I'm not a native Clevelander, but I'm a proud person from Northeast Ohio. And I wear it in my clothing, my shirts, my hats. And I had my Chief Wahoo hat on as I showed up to the work site Monday morning. And I'd been there about an hour, and I noticed a little rock by Steve, our resident, his home. He had this little rock, and I'll clean it up for church, but he was a Cubs fan. And it said, "Win, Cubs, darn it," on this rock. And I'm like, oh no. So he didn't say one word all day about my hat. And when we got to the work site Tuesday morning, Steve, because of his cancer, had chemotherapy that morning. And about lunchtime, he drives up, gets out of his car, and has on his bright white, blue-striped Chris Bryant Chicago Cubs jersey. It's like, here we go. So we had a nice time with that. We agreed to disagree, and it was just a wonderful opportunity to learn from someone and to experience Jesus in everything we did that day or that week. So I too would like to thank both the Our Lady and Church in Aurora congregations. What you're supporting is an amazing opportunity for our youth to find their way with Jesus, and you're giving our world hope. Thank you.
Next up is Brad Hilliard, and I'll just let you know, we kind of recruited him back in 2004, and he was kind of struggling to go. I don't think he had exactly the right attitude. Are you coming down? To go, but somewhere along the way, after we got him in the door at the work camp, he completely went into the work camp spirit and became an MC. A lot of us love to hear Brad doing his master of ceremony thing. He really is, we think, the number one in the whole group organization of about 40. So I don't know how many he's done MC with, but we know he's been going since 2004 nonstop, and we'll take the credit for that.
First off, a hot dog is a sandwich. That in a slice. So we could have a sermon on that later. How's that? Also, I'll try and make this shorter than my wakey wakies. As the MC, I do have the record for the longest wakey wakey. We wake them up at 6:45, and my longest so far is 5 minutes before program. So that's a good one, you know. But anyway, as Jimmy was saying, back in 2004, I was like, I want to go to work camp. And I know that's kind of some of us when we say, hey, go to work camp. Oh, I don't want to go to work camp, right? And we sit there and we think, and I literally went kicking and screaming. I got better things to do, right? But here I am. I think I went as an adult leader for 3-4 years after that, but I've been emceeing programs for 10 years now. And I got to tell you, it's an amazing thing. You know, an interesting thing about Rushville is, yeah, I've been emceeing that camp. This is their 4th camp. They put it on about every other year. And I've been lucky enough to go back to that small town. And every year I go back, and it's just like my home away from home. It's an amazing place to go to. But here we are, here in Aurora, just listening to the work campers and their testimonies about what they had, where they saw God working for the week. And I can tell you, as the MC, I get to hear all the devotion leaders at the camp come back and tell me about their God sightings. And it's always about the resident, helping the resident. And then really also about the crews getting together and bonding so well. I mean, young kids from all over the place meeting on Sunday, and by the end of the week, they're best friends. You know, I'm still best friends with a lot of folks that I met at my very first work camp. And it's just an amazing opportunity. So, you know, go to work camp. You know, me becoming a doctor, I'll write you a prescription for fun, okay? So go to work camp. It is a lot of fun. But I do want to say, you know, the theme this year was the road. And what we learned about is that Jesus walks with us all the time, even though we may not recognize him. And the work campers had the opportunity to recognize Jesus at that camp. And not just to recognize him, you know, on the cross, but to recognize him everywhere. And to move past Rushville or Chillicothe or whatever camp the hundreds of work campers around the United States went to, that they could recognize Jesus anywhere. And we hear about these God sightings. You know, the God sightings are not just once a week, they're all the time. So starting next month, you're going to see in the Spire a little devotional that you can read about how we could find God. And we'll see in the bulletin, I'm going to put that in there as well, just little questions for you to reflect on. Where do you see God working? You know, we hear about him once a week, but let's start hearing about him all year long, because he's here, on the move, everywhere.
I know we're running a little long, but we do have one more speaker, my wife. Before I let her come up, though, I'd like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank the adults that go as volunteer leaders without